We have Manny and Didi on. Testing Counselor Valdez, Counselor Manny Martinez.
I can hear you loud and clear. Good evening.
I can hear you fine, sir. Good evening.
Did he say I can hear you? Okay, sir. You guys can hear us?
Yes.
What did you?
Hold on. I do have a message from a constituent requesting if the clerk could adjust the YouTube feed to show the whole chambers and not one counselor's feed. That it's only showing a name and a black screen right now.
Ready? Debbie, Sandra, are we ready? Mayor Pro Tem, can you take your seat? You ready? Mayor Pro Tem, are you ready? Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening for the second regular meeting of the month for the month of September of the Espanola City Council. We'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. It's great to see a packed attendance. Last meeting we had 2 weeks ago, we also had a packed attendance. So we're really excited when we see the audience come out to support and see issues going on in our community. And it's so important. For those that don't know, this meeting is being broadcast on KDEC as well as on YouTube Live as well. So I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. Would you all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
One nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar will lead us in invocation this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Dear Lord, please help guide us today as we make decisions for the best interest of the city of Espanola. Help to guide us to be able to work together and to decide what is best for our city and for our constituents. Amen.
At this time, I want to take a moment of silence, extended, actually, first off to Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar on the passing of his brother, Orlando Salazar. Orlando grew up here in this valley, grew up down on Main Street. And so we're expressing our deepest condolences to you, Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, on the passing of your brother, Orlando. Our community also lost a longtime community activist, artist, former Fiesta Council member, very active in our community, Miss Nikki Bustos, a lifelong resident of the West Side here in Espanola, from the Bustos family in La Mesilla, and the Valerio family from the West Side, which I believe more than half the council all know and grew up with. So we want to send our hearts and thoughts, prayers going out to those families that have been impacted by the loss of a loved one during this time. Thank you. Good evening, members of the governing body. Thank you for joining us this evening. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
Honored to be with you all.
Councilors Nanette D. Rodriguez,
Present.
Aaron J. Salazar,
Present.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
Present.
Denise D. Benavides,
Present.
Manuel J. Martinez,
Present.
Justin Salazar Torres,
Present.
Dennis Tim Salazar.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I also at this time would like to recognize Judge Jacqueline Medina from the New Mexico Court of Appeals for joining us this evening. Thank you, Judge, for coming up here from Albuquerque. It's an honor to have you here in our council chambers this evening. Is there any other members of the public? Former Municipal Judge Steven Salazar. Also former probate judge, Rio County probate judge Marlo Martinez as well is there in the audience. And former district attorney, Mr. Marco Serna. Thank you. All former school board member, Miss Joanne Salazar, but she's very active, involved here in city government as well. So Joanne's always here at City Hall anyway. We have a quorum. Thank you. Members of the governing body, you have the agenda before you for this evening.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the presented Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Councilor Justin Salazar Torres. Is there any discussion? Them being none, the agenda is adopted for the evening. Consent agenda is before you. August 10th,
Mr. Mayor,
2020.
excuse me, who made the motion for the?
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Councilor Justin Salazar.
Thank you.
Consent agenda is before you. It's the August 10th, August 22nd, August 29th City Council meeting minutes.
Move to adopt, sir.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, Councilor Justin Salazar Torres, second the motion. There be no discussion. Do we have a motion? If there's any discussion, there will be no, if there's no discussion, we'll adopt the consent agenda as presented. Moving on, public comments, Ms. Garcia.
Bethany Bradley.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good to see you guys. So I have a few things that I want to bring up again. Selling of puppies and kittens in the parking lot at Walmart yet again. Seems like a weekend thing. Because again, we don't have an ACO on duty on weekends, so hey, why not? Dogs roaming free on Saturdays and Sundays because there's no ACO. And yes, I see a lot of dogs that I do not see on weekdays coming out on a weekend because people do know there's no ACO on duty. Of course, officers are busy. We all know that. I mean, they're not going to stop. I unfortunately cannot stop because, you know, who's to say how they're going to react when I turn around and tell them you can't be selling puppies in a parking lot at 95 degrees with no water and no shade. I'm sure you guys heard that there was a huge event this weekend, Fur Fest, which was put on by Espanola Humane. It was a great fundraiser. They are still doing free spay neuters for all of you out there who do not have your pets fixed. There is actually a breeding law here in the city of Espanola. You need a permit for that. If you want a permit, I'm sure you can come down to the city and pay for it if you would like to breed your pets. Technically, it's illegal to breed your pets without one. Also, the free spay neuter includes microchip, up-to-date vaccines. It is a $30 deposit. You get your $30 back when you show up for your appointment because many people in this city and this county want to get their pets fixed and will show up. So your $30 becomes donated. 505-753-8662 is the phone number.
Thank you, Bethany.
Ms. Garcia.
Next would be an email sent from Cynthia Lentenny. It reads as follows. I have tested positive for COVID and cannot attend tomorrow's meeting for the well-being and safety of others. Therefore, I request that my comments be read out loud for the public attending the meeting those watching on YouTube, and those listening in on Que Dice. If that is not possible, please provide me a reason in writing that I may forward to the Attorney General. Public comment. Eric Lujan was introduced to the staff at City Hall as the new city manager by John Ramon Vigil on 9/25/2023, before the quote unquote special city council meeting to interview him. Mr. Lujan was made the offer and it was accepted long before the interview. He was interviewed with Dennis Tim Salazar and Nanette Rodriguez. Mr. Vigil has been chasing Mr. Lujan since he abruptly ended Jordan Yetzi's time as city manager. Will Mr. Lujan be resigning as Misero? I have posed this question to the entire council by email. The city currently invests funds with Misero with Mr. Lujan as the city's agent. This is a gargantuan conflict of interest. It is not surprising that this council seems to overlook conflicts of interest. After all, Mr. Vigil is pretending to be mayor, co-op trustee, and realtor, all in the city of Espanola. Hasn't the city suffered enough at the hands of Mr. Vigil? Clearly, the council was left out of this decision like so many others. While Mr. Lujan's salary is $105,000 a year, I would like to, that would be it, time's up.
Ms. Garcia.
This will go to the city meeting minutes for permanent record. And that would be all for the comments.
That concludes public comment for this evening. Thank you. Counselor comments. Counselor comments. Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, Counselor Salazar, Aaron Salazar, and myself had the opportunity to visit with NM Environmental Department and some of the federal people involved with the plume that has been worked on here near the Norristown Laundry. They provided he and I with a lot of information. I let them know that most of the counselors worked out of town during the day and that it was really difficult for them to attend something during the day. They requested that they would like to come back and present at a future council meeting. So if we could possibly schedule them when we have an agenda that can withstand maybe a 40-minute presentation. The information they gave was very interesting, and I feel like we're in a much better place from the last report that we had in 2019. It was being discussed that the federal government had already invested 10 years in that plume and they were walking away from it. I was happy that a faction of federal government that deals with health, safety, and well-being were here to still be vested and care about what's going on with people's health in our community. The plume has been worked on. It is being, it has improved. It is moving, but the numbers have improved drastically. So I felt that this meeting this year was much more positive than the last meeting that we had. We also had an opportunity to meet with the Espanola School Board. I felt that that was a much needed meeting and I felt like it went very, very well. I'd like to recognize those people that were able to attend. Also, after that meeting, we went back to the to the public meeting that New Mexico Environmental had with a public question and answer. There were probably 20 people from our community at that meeting and they were asking very viable questions. And again, I feel that that meeting went very well. I feel like the federal government still has their hand on what's going on with that plume. And the state environmental department is definitely involved and they're going to be here for a long time. They also would like to present, as I said, at a future meeting so that all counselors have the ability to get the information that we received that day. And they would also like to have points of contacts, numerous points of contacts here in the city so that we don't lose communication in the year to come. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Counselor Manny Martinez.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to thank all the board members and volunteers that helped at this weekend's 38th Annual Art Festival. It was very successful. There was a lot of great entries, a lot of great art, and I just want to thank all of the participants, all the artists, entertainers that provided music for the weekend, and of course all the people that went to go see the wonderful art. I had mentioned before that we have, I've always thought that the art that's shown in Santa Fe comes from the people from the Valley, and I have a little bit of proof with me today. And that is a young artist that actually started at the Espanola Valley Arts Festival a few years back. And right now he shows his work at a gallery on Canyon Road in Santa Fe. And he'll actually be having a solo exhibition at the Invoke Contemporary on Guadalupe Street in Santa Fe now from September 29th through October 21st. And that's Mr. Tomas Vigil. Many of you may know him, and he's a tremendous artist. It's called Lost Prophets. And I think if there's anyone out there that would like to support our local area people, they could go out and go look at the exhibition from Mr. Tomas Vigil. But I do want to thank everybody. I want to thank our sponsors, of course, the City of Espanola, Century Bank, and Enterprise Bank and Trust for supporting the arts of Espanola, and they continue to do so as well. So thank you.
Follow up, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Counselor Manny Martinez, I also want to say thank you to you and those of you on your board that worked so hard all weekend. I know that it's a lot to set up and it's a lot of work to do something like that art festival. And you also should be recognized, sir. So thank you for your dedication and your help on that issue.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Counselor Denise Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take some time to publicly thank Christus and Quorum, their staff, their executive director, Jerry Jones, for all the assistance that they gave to the city of Espanola in reference to the Vista Apartments. They did a lot for the city, and I just want to publicly recognize them for all their assistance.
I'll add to that, Counselor Benavides. I also want to recognize Commissioner Green from Santa Fe County. He was very diligent in his communication. His passion is incredible for the people of this valley and for his constituents. And he always shows up. So we certainly appreciate him and what he does. Thank you.
All right, moving on, matters from the mayor. I'd like to thank everyone who came last week to our special meeting with the Espanola Public School Board of Education. That was a historic meeting between the two bodies. Going back, I think historically, we've never met with them, or at least in the last 20, 30 years. It was really important. I know it was very sentimental to Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar. We had the opportunity to meet at the school named after his father. And so I think he enjoyed having a council meeting at the school named after his father. So we actually got a letter from the school district, and I'd like to read that for the record. I gave that to all you. Honorable Mayor John Ramon Vigil, Honorable City Councilor, City of Espanola. Honorable Mayor Vigil and esteemed members of the City Council, I hope this letter finds you in good health and high spirits. I'm writing to you today on behalf of the Board of Education of the Espanola Public Schools to express our deepest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude for your presence at the recent joint work session with the Board of Education to discuss critical matters of safety concern in our city's educational institutions. Your willingness to participate in this important dialogue demonstrated your commitment to the well-being of our community and more specifically our children. Your presence not only underscored the significance of this issue, but also served as an inspiration to all attendees, showcasing a collaborative approach to problem solving and shared responsibility for the welfare of our students and educators. During this work session, your insightful contributions and thoughtful input were invaluable in shaping the discussions and establishing a comprehensive understanding of the safety concerns faced by our schools. Your expertise and dedication to public service were evident as you actively engaged with the members of the Board of Education, fostering a cooperative environment that encouraged open communication and the exchange of ideas. We all recognize the busy lives you and the rest of the governing body have, and so with grateful hearts, we especially want to thank you, Mayor Vigil, Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, and Councilors Dennis Tim Salazar, Aaron J. Salazar, and Councilor Nanette Rodriguez for joining us. Once again, thank you for your unwavering dedication, leadership, and commitment to our community's safety and prosperity. We look forward to continuing working collaborations to better our city's future for generations to come. Con todo respeto, Jeremy G. Maestas, President, Espanola Public School Board of Education. I just want to thank you all for going that week for that meeting. It was really important. We had a good turnout from residents from Zuni Lane. They had a lot of issues and concerns that actually we found out about that hadn't been brought to the forefront with the city. And so it was great that there was a good turnout. I applaud Ms. Cecilia Lujan, longtime resident of Zuni Lane in that corridor, and she brought a great turnout of people to attend that meeting from District 3. So thank you to the residents of Zuni Lane that came to that meeting to discuss their safety concern issues, as well as that whole Hacienda Calle Chamizal corridor, as well as Paseo Melendez. At this time, I'm going to move on from that. We're going to enter this into the record. I just wanted to thank all the staff for all the hard work they've been doing to get caught up on the weeds. The weeds have been coming up really good because of the rainfall. We're blessed to have the rainfall. Thank you, San Isidro, but we have to get back on our maintenance schedule. And so they've been working hard to get on that. So we're thankful for all the hard work they've been doing. That back feeder. And thank you, Sally, for all the hard work, you and the directors. As discussed, director reports will be back to the second meeting of the month, and directors will be attending every meeting from here on out on that second meeting of the month, as I've indicated to the manager. I think it's really important that the school board, each of the directors was present at the board meeting. And I think it's really important going forward that the directors are attending city council meetings, and specifically they'll be attending the second meeting of the month, the regular meeting of the month. So thank you to all the directors that are here attending this evening. Moving on, executive session. Is there a desire of the governing body to enter into executive session? Then being none, we're going to move on. City manager report. Ms. Sally Baxter.
Mayor Pro Tem, city councilors, thank you. I wanted to give a couple of updates on some issues that have come up at some of the past meetings. One of the issues is the condition of the track at the Vietnam Veterans walking track at the park. We will be looking into getting some estimates to see what repair options we have. In the meantime, we're repainting some fluorescent paint based on Councilor Rodriguez's suggestion to make those uneven surface areas more visible. And we're going to put up a couple of warning signs that say there's an uneven surface. The issue with that is tree roots from the property to the north. So we're also looking at pulling that track a little more to the south. So when it's replaced, hopefully it'll be in a better location. So we are proceeding with that. At the joint meeting with Espanola Public Schools Board of Education, there were a couple of questions on some missing flashing lights at school zones on Coronado and Industrial Park, and staff are looking at getting those replaced as quickly as possible. So thank you to our field operations superintendent. He's working on getting us those quotes. I just wanted to also mention there was a question on how members of the community might go about having a petition to get a speed bump or speed hump installed. The city does not have a set form for that. The members of the public may just present it in memo form, letter form, whatever is more convenient. We need greater than 50% of the residents of that property to agree. And if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to give a call. Staff will be happy to help them. I or Mr. Morris, the superintendent, but we're happy to assist if they need help with kind of formulating a petition. I did want to thank staff for some Team Espanola accomplishments. We had an issue with needing to distribute door hangers from our customer services utility billing department in order to comply with our ordinance. They were short-staffed and it was a lot to do. I sent an email asking other departments for assistance, and in a matter of minutes, two of our departments had reworked their schedules so some of their staff could help. So I appreciate that. We had another issue at the La Loma Collection Center. Our sanitation supervisor brought forward that the asphalt needed to be repaired. We looked at some of the options. Could we go out to bid? What were some of the options for that repair? We're getting later in the year for pouring hot mix. Our supervisor mentioned he had talked to the field superintendent. We followed up, and our own streets department was able to pour asphalt and make that repair. They did a great job. So thank you. Thank you, Team Espanola. You have in the packet, the director reports, and our directors are here. If those are the updates I wanted to give, I'm happy to stand for question, and our directors are here as well. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Mayor, thank you, Ms. Baxter. Thank you for your commitment to the city of Espanola, and thank you for the job that you've been doing for us. I want to ask two things. You did mention during the meeting with the Espanola Public Schools, we talked about lighting and such. One of the things that they also discussed was signage. So I don't know if that's been ordered. Has that been ordered? School zone signs?
I don't think we have the order in place yet, but we're looking at that.
All right. The other question that I had, it's a little redundant, and bear with me, those of you that have heard me ask many times. I'm very concerned about the lighting near the bond house in that area. It's extremely dark. There's been times in the evening where people who are in four-wheelers are blowing donuts in that field that belongs to the city up there. It's very concerning. I'm worried that somebody's gonna knock down one of those light poles or something. It's very dark, and it's just an area that really needs to be lit up. It's way too dark for being right in the middle of our downtown area and right in the middle of the community. It's way, way too dark up there. So I'm hopeful that we can do something to rectify that. Also, concerning the Veterans Wall area, I'd like to know if we could possibly meet out there on a Saturday and help get that place cleaned up, because it needs attention. So I wouldn't mind donating a Saturday morning if counselors are interested in that. We could probably knock it out in maybe 3 or 4 hours. Just get that done and clean that area up. Our veterans deserve to be recognized from this community, and it's unacceptable the condition that that place is in right now. So we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like an update if possible on the lighting at Ranchitos Park. Now that the seasons are changing, it's getting a little bit darker sooner. And for one, there's kids and so forth that are practicing, but I've got a few calls from constituents that there's some concrete where one of our lighting poles used to be. However, we have put cones and so forth to mark the area, but they do go missing. And I've had some constituents get some tire issues, rim issues, and so forth. So if we can get an update on lighting at Ranchitos, I'd appreciate that.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Justin Salazar Torres, we will get that information for you. The city does have a CDBG block grant, and we've been looking at some of the work specifically for Ranchitos Park. We are hoping to actually move forward with that project as soon as possible. It'll include some refurbishing, and temporarily we'll have some of those areas blocked up for some demolition work, taking out some of that old concrete, trying to just smooth out some of those rougher areas. We will get an update for you on that, sir.
Thank you.
Counselor Nanette Rodriguez.
Mrs. Baxter, I just want to say thank you for following through with the walking path. We've been talking about this for the last 2 years. It's really utilized by our community and it is currently in really sad shape. So I appreciate you moving on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Follow up, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
I'd like to recognize Elijah and John Wickersham. Was one evening where the lights here at this park inadvertently were down about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. There was a little football team out there practicing, so I called Mr. Wickersham and asked him if there's possibility the fire department has a switch over there or not. And he made a phone call to Mr. Elijah, and lo and behold, the park lights were on relatively quickly. So I appreciate your quick response, and I'm sure the kids appreciated practicing in the light. So thank you. Oh, one other thing. I also want to recognize John Wickersham. He just returned from Hobbs yesterday. And he was over there for something very, very important. As you all know, the city of Espanola, through John's guidance and leadership and animo, adopted the first baby box in the state of New Mexico. There were 3 other communities that followed. Tell me who they were. Hobbs. And Belen. There was a little baby that was dropped in one of the boxes in Hobbs this weekend. So thank you.
Councilor Nanette Rodriguez.
I just want to recognize John Francisco and your staff for the incredible work that you continue to do for our community. Thank you.
Other comments or questions for the manager report? I'd like to thank you, Sally, for all the hard work you've done for the last 3 months as city manager. We really appreciate all the hard work you've put into things, working with the directors. It's not an easy job, city manager. So we want to thank you for all the hard work and perseverance and passion that you've displayed for this. You've been the longest serving director here at the city of Espanola. So we're grateful for your leadership and knowledge to steer the ship the last 3 months. So thank you, Ally.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I have items proposed for council consideration, discussion items and action items. Tonight, I'd like us to handle appointment and ratification of city manager. And I'd like to first start off with a quote from state statute regarding power of appointment. The mayor shall appoint all municipal officers and employees of the city, except those holding elective office, subject to the approval of a majority of all members of the governing body. As it is in my authority, I have the ability to appoint the city manager, the chief of police, the fire chief, and the city clerk. And by ordinance here in the city of Espanola, if we have an in-house attorney, I also have that ability to appoint the in-house attorney, but we have a contract attorney. We went through this process. We actually opened the position on September 13th. We had several applicants for the position. The committee was formed of Councilor Dennis Tim Salazar, Councilor Nanette Rodriguez, myself. We reviewed applicants last Wednesday here at City Hall. We had 2 great applicants apply for the position, very good qualified applicants. But the committee went with the recommendation for Mr. Eric Lujan. Mr. Eric Lujan is the former Chief Deputy Treasurer for Santa Fe County. He's a longtime employee from the New Mexico Department of Transportation as a civil engineer tech. Mr. Lujan brings a wealth of experience in financial management, civil engineering, construction management, as well as numerous contacts at the state level and federal level to help assist our community, and as well as actually tribal contacts as well with Okewinge. He served as Director of Federal Funding for San Felipe Pueblo, and you all received a copy of his resume previously. So I'd like to recognize the fact that I am recommending for appointment this evening, Mr. Eric Lujan for the office of City Manager.
So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Councilor Nanette Rodriguez. Okay. There's no discussion. I'm going to move forward. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Nanette D. Rodriguez,
For the motion.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselors Manuel J. Martinez,
Against the motion?
Denise D. Benavides,
Against the motion.
Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Justin Salazar Torres.
Not in favor.
That would be 3 against, Mayor, and 5 for the motion.
Thank you. Thank you to the members of the governing body. Congratulations, Mr. Lujan. Can you come up here and just maybe give a brief spiel? I also want to add, I got multiple calls from state legislators, yes, as well as county commissioner from Santa Fe County, Justin Green, who indicated that Mr. Lujan is probably the best person possible to navigate moving forward for our municipality, working with Santa Fe County. We need to realize that 40% of the constituency resides in Santa Fe County that lives within the city of Espanola. Commissioner Green has committed to working with us moving forward for the city of Espanola, and he's excited to have Mr. Lujan join us as well as County Clerk for Santa Fe County, Catherine Clark. I believe Mr. Lujan's contacts and such at Santa Fe County can be extremely beneficial for the future of our community. And we're really excited about our future direction with him. So Mr. Lujan, I'll allow you the opportunity to address the governing body.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, counselors. Mayor, what an honor and privilege. I was telling my girlfriend, I don't know what to say. I think Counselor Rodriguez, Counselor Aaron Salazar, and Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, I think you guys took the wind out of me last night. And my second interview being here 2.5 hours, Mayor Pro Tem. I took a lot to heart when I listened to your convictions, Mayor Pro Tem. When I listened for your love of this community and your dedication to 12 years on this council, giving so much to the people, not only from your district, but the entire community. But something struck my mind. It's not just the city of Espanola. It's the surrounding communities, Chimayo, Merenales, Santa Cruz, everywhere that abounds this area, La Mesilla, where my former in-laws live. So much that abounds in the 70,000 cars that run through this community day in and day out. So how do we make this community great again? How do we make people want to come here and be part of this community? We have to move forward, and I took to heart everything that the counselors that attended my second interview last night that set forth, and I hit the ground running this morning. And you're going to be surprised by the end of the week. This city is governed by the mayor and these elected councilors. We answer to the people of Espanola. We answer to the people that pay our salaries. No matter what, if they're registered to vote or not, the most intimate form of government is municipal city government. We answer to those people on a daily basis. And my job is to take their concerns and enact them and provide the services to constituents. That is going to be forthcoming. You're going to see as I start tomorrow morning. Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, I want to thank you for your words of inspiration a while ago when you said in your 20 years on the council that you haven't been so excited about a city manager coming forth. I want to thank you for those words. Thank you, Counselor. Mayor, you put me on a journey this last 3 weeks. And I'm going to come through for the people of Espanola first and foremost. For this administration, for the directors, I'm going to hold everyone accountable to the citizens of Espanola. And I just want to thank God for allowing me this privilege and this honor coming forth today. Mayor, if I can just introduce
Okay.
my family and I want to bring my great uncle, my 90-year-old uncle, my great uncle. He could hold the Bible. And my daughters are with me, daughter Caitlin, my daughter Cameron, my mother, my daughters, Lisa Medina Lujan. And they could come up, and then my girlfriend, Nicole Holmes. And my mom and dad, Toby and Dolly Lujan. I just want to recognize the people that came to support me, Mayor. Our former district attorney, Marco Cern, his mother, Barbara. From the Lieutenant Governor's Office, Martina Siribaca. My cousin, Judge Marta Martinez. And now, who can forget Matilda's? My other cousin, Rosalind Guillen. Yeah, my cousin, Judge Salazar, the former municipal judge. My cousin, Josh Martinez, Marlo's son. I hope God, Joanne, how can we go back with the Democratic Party? Joanne, Salazar, husband Joe, thank you for being here. You gotta, he's asking me what he's here for. So you're gonna hold the Bible for me, Uncle Ray. So if my daughters would come up and Lisa and Nicole and my mom and dad. You guys come up.
Yeah, if you don't mind just standing.
And how can I forget my good friend, my old friend, Judge Jacqueline Medina, originally from Towson, she's a Norteña, guys, so, you know.
So that you'll all be in the picture. Daughter behind you.
I, Eric Lujan. I will be appointed to the office of city manager. Solemnly swear. To the city of Espanola. And I will. To the best. Stand. Support. And pledge. My loyalty. To the citizens of Espanola. Faithfully and impartially. Duty. Their office. Oh.
You do, you do. You do. It's not a bad. Reminds me of the baseball field. No, I used to do, there was nowhere on the west side of Bison Park, when we were kids, we were such a kid up there. So we used to ride our flag to Boyles. So we're Paul's Market. I used to stay 45 cents. Buy a Hershey bar.
Now I get. Counselors. Thank you. All right. All right. So again.
I'll give it to her. You want me to give it to her? Okay. Let me have her make copies. You got them. All right, folks, if you don't mind. There. Huh? Yeah, have, take, wait for everybody to reconvene.
Okay. Okay.
I will not.
I wanna-
Where's Peggy? Wanted her to sit so that I'm gonna acknowledge. We're gonna take the time. Where's Mary? Is she in the bathroom? Is Peggy in the bathroom?
Okay. Yeah, okay,
I have
okay.
everything ready now, where I can really sit down and give my whole scenario, of what's going on. So,
Okay.
God bless you. honey.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Did you need a pass? Nicole, this is your exam. You're getting your exam. You're getting your exam.
Mayor Pro Tem? Okay, all right. Let's come back to order, folks. Let's come back to order.
Okay.
At this time, by ordinance, the newly appointed city manager, Mr. Lujan, will take his seat up here on the dais with us. Thank you, Mr. Lujan.
Yeah, I just want to thank Sally Baxter for her hard work the last 90 days and thank you, Mayor. Write this down.
Counselor Rodriguez, you can go first.
Mrs. Baxter. Just want to thank you for the dedication that you gave us these last 3 months. You are a rock star. You held a lot and you did an incredible job. We are really grateful. Thank you.
Counselor Aaron Salazar.
Thank you, Mrs. Sally Baxter, for the hard 3 months. You had a lot on your plate and you did it calmly. Everything you did, you calmly, and you always do. You always have a calm, to you. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you, Sally.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
I have two things I want to talk about. First of all, it's been a very taxing situation for you, I know, to be nominated to step into a position that maybe you were not prepared to step into, or you had reservations about stepping into. But at the end of the day, you agreed to it, and we didn't realize at that time probably, and neither did you, that it was going to be this long before we had a city manager. All I can tell you, Sally, is that your heart is amazing. You care about the people in this community and you care about the employees. You were able to separate yourself from your HR position. And we have to give credit to Shannon also, because Shannon landed up probably doing a lot more than her normal day if you had been in your HR position. So we have to recognize her also. And there were times where I'd call Sally after a long week on Friday afternoon and she'd still answer the phone. Good afternoon, Sally Baxter, City of Espanola. How may I help you? And I just get amazed with that energy. Like, you're just amazing. Your positiveness and you're willing to just do whatever is just beautiful. So thank you again. I also want to touch base with Mr. Lujan. People might think that Mayor John Ramon has carte blanche with me. He does not. Let me say that again. He does not. I will question John when I believe that he's wrong. I will bring things to his attention when I believe he needs things brought to his attention. I will tell him things that probably nobody else will tell him. I pick and choose my battles with him because we need to move the city forward. In order to do that, we have to get along. When he brought Mr. Eric Lujan's name to me, truth be told, I was not thrilled. I never knew Eric. I never knew Mr. Lujan, but I just did not really feel like that was a great idea. When I came to the interview yesterday, I didn't know how it was gonna go. I didn't know what to think. And I had concerns, honest concerns. Through the interview process and everything, I have to say that you won me over. Your heart is the exact thing this community needs. Your willingness to hit the ground running, your ability to communicate with connections that you've already created. Those are all benefits that the city of Espanola will have. Most importantly, I feel like you're able to communicate well. And one of the issues that we spoke of was the lack of communication to this entire governing body, and how important it is that we feel that this entire governing body be heard, even those that were not present at that meeting yesterday. I feel like we do have a good governing body. I feel like for the most part, people's heart is in the right place and they really do want what's good for Espanola. I would love to see a day when we're all on the same channel and we're moving in ways that improve this community by leaps and bounds. And I believe it's possible with the right type of leadership and a council behind you that wants to do things correctly. I wish you well, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I do want to thank Shannon for stepping up in the HR position, and also thanks to Sally for, of course, holding down the fort for these last few months. I think it was mentioned that, Sally stayed longer than expected. And of course, for stepping up. Just a few minutes ago, we saw Sally front and center. After this point, she went straight to the back. So-
Back to your inconspicuous corner.
But I don't blame you.
He's gonna have to spike his hair higher for you to hide behind him.
And then, and speaking with Mr. Eric Lujan, I would just like to state that, this is not any type of influence from our mayor, from any single counselor, one way or another. This is something that I went to the interview with a very clear, open mind, and this is what I saw looking at the candidates for city manager. And going back to September 13th, when the mayor, did get this position posted to this point, there were some, pretty good city manager candidates in that period of time. And looking at Mr. Lujan and the general public, please look at his resume. His resume speaks for itself. 17 years of DOT, just the 2 terms of the deputy county treasurer for Santa Fe County. And then amongst, many other leadership areas, again, as stated, tribal connections, state, federal, his degrees, working in various areas. Mr. Lujan is very, very well-rounded. And don't think for 1 minute we did not grill him, because I definitely did. I grilled him and we put him on the hot seat. In fact, I even wanted to get a spotlight on him to do so. But nonetheless, again, this is all me. And just like Mr. Lujan did state, I am very excited for this opportunity for Mr. Lujan. Being in the city council for close to 20 years, it's very few and far between that I have been excited and promising for a city manager. And Mr. Lujan, this is one of the, the very few, and I'm very excited and for you to, already getting started and hit the ground running. So I look forward to us moving forward. I know you're ambitious to be able to help us, work with us to move the city forward with the mayor and the council. And then, of course, this will be for our constituents, working directly with staff. And there's so many good things we could do. And of course, the right and the honest way. Thank you.
Counselor Annette Rodriguez.
Mr. Lujan. Welcome. Welcome. We've spent a lot of time meeting with you, 2 days in a row. And during that time, I learned a lot about you and how well-rounded you are. You have a lot of experience in a lot of areas. You have a lot of connections, not only in county and state, but federal connections as well. And like Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar, I'm excited. I'm excited for our city and for our constituents and for our employees. We will work with you and we trust that you will do what's right for the city of Espanola. And I just want to publicly state that none of us were influenced to recommend Mr. Lucero. He was recommended because he's qualified for this position. I mean, Mr. Lujan, sorry, he's qualified for this position. Who's that? Sorry about that. Welcome, Mr. Lujan.
Counselor Benavides.
So I've known Mr. Eric Lujan for quite some time. And I wish you all the best on this crazy endeavor you've signed up for. We had that conversation, didn't we? I have a message from my constituents for you. I had calls right and left, as I have from individuals from Santa Fe County. And my constituents want you to know that they are sick and tired of politics. And they hope that you can move this community forward without those politics getting in the way, Eric. And I hope that you can work together with this council, that we can go back and fix what has been unfixed and move this city forward. This community so deserves it. And I think we can. So welcome and good luck to you.
Counselor Aaron Salazar.
Mr. Lujan, welcome again. Thank you. Again, I didn't know you. I did read your resume and, yesterday with all the questions, you answered with no hesitation, and correct answers, good answers, what we wanted to hear. And, we really look forward to working with you, and it's really not that bad. You'll get it done. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. B, discussion approval resolution number 2023-23, approving compensation for city manager. By ordinance, the city of Espanola requires the resolution to be adopted to affix compensation for the city manager. This had not been being done in several years. We actually did this earlier this year with the prior manager. So this is just recommendation from my office. I'm recommending to affix the salary at 105.5. The salary was advertised at 103 to 108. This is the median of that average. Here's the language. A resolution approving compensation for the position of city manager in the amount of $105,500 per year. Whereas the city of Espanola conducted a search for city manager in September 2023, composed of the following committee members: city councilors Nanette Rodriguez and Dennis Tim Salazar, together with Mayor John Ramon Vigil. And whereas the governing body desires to hire a city manager for efficiency and continued operations of the municipal government and aspires to fill the position on September 26, 2023. Whereas City of Espanola Ordinance 78-8 states that the city council shall fix the city manager's compensation by resolution. And whereas the governing body desires to set the ratified appointee's compensation at $105,500 per year. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved by the governing body of the city of Espanola that the appointee to the office of Espanola City Manager shall start in the employment of the municipality at a pay rate of $105,500 per year, effective this day.
I'll move.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Councilor Nanette Rodriguez. Any discussion? Councilor Justin Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. Does this include benefits?
No, this doesn't. This is the salary.
Thank you.
And this also includes, well, that's a fringe. Well, obviously the fringe with the benefits and then the vehicle as well. So this is the take home salary. Well, not take home, but this is the salary, the base salary.
And for clarification, Mayor, it is an at will position?
Yes, yes. The clarification
Record.
for the record, city manager, city clerk, chief of police, fire chief are at-will positions and serve at the pleasure of the mayor and the council.
Thank you, sir.
And that includes suspension, termination, hiring, such. Any further discussion on this? Oh, Counselor Justin Salazar Torres.
Is there going to be any contract signing, et cetera?
No, Mr. Lujan is not going to be doing a contract. It's a 6-month period. He will serve until the reorganizational meeting is the plan in April of 2024. Counselor, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, all right. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll?
Counselors Nanette D. Rodriguez,
For the motion.
Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselors Manuel J. Martinez,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
Motion.
Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Justin Salazar Torres.
In favor.
Favor carries, motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2023-23 is adopted by the governing body. Next item C, discussion approval resolution number 20 for the FY 2023 fourth quarter financial report ending June 30th, 2023. I'm gonna let Miss Sally Baxter and that take over this because she was working on this.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilors. We've forwarded some documents in the last few weeks regarding the budget. What you have before you is a resolution to adopt the fourth quarter report. We're fortunate to have wonderful staff and wonderful consultants who help us. Ms. Joyce Sandoval, who is a former Administrative Services Director, helped us complete the reconciliations and prepare the fourth quarter report. And she was going to try to stand by. So if there are any questions, I'd like to defer to her and I'd be happy to call and I hope I can reach her. But we'd be happy to stand for questions. I can print out that and bring it to the governing body if you'd like from the prior. We had mailed it on the,
Yeah, we got it the other day, but just get us another copy. And during the meantime, we're gonna take a short recess.
I'll
We'll
print that
reconvene
out.
in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you guys find, with my
Sorry, you guys couldn't enjoy the Frito pies. Can you hear us, Counselor Valdez and Counselor Manny Martinez?
Yes, I can hear you.
Same here. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
I'll take the doggy back tomorrow morning for breakfast, though.
Without further ado, Ms. Sally Baxter, thank you for your work with this. This is again discussion approval resolution 20 for the FY 2023 fourth quarter financial report ending June 30th, 2023. Ms. Baxter.
Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, you have before you some documents, the fourth quarter long report, a budget recap, a short report, and then the full budget report that was prepared at the end of August after the fourth quarter numbers were entered. I do have Ms. Joyce Sandoval on the phone, and we would be very happy to stand for any questions.
Ted, were there any line items in the fourth quarter that were drastically over expectation? When I say drastically, I mean more than 20%.
Joyce, were you able to hear that? Were there any line items drastically over by more than 20%? That's Mayor Pro Tem.
Some that jump out at me are the employee training and
Mayor Pro Tem, all city councilors. I did not compare the variances to determine whether any of those were over 20%. I will tell you that what was initially provided to DFA was provided with the information that Ms. McCure was able to get. However, we do understand that according to policy and procedure, the fourth quarter has to be presented prior to the budget being submitted to DFA, so that at that point, the beginning balances for the new budget agree to the ending balances of the fourth quarter. And Ms. McCure had to wait until I was able to complete the fourth quarter to then adjust her beginning balances for the budget of the new year. Other than that, if you could ask a more specific question, because I did not compare the differences, simply because her beginning balances for the initial submission of the 23-24 fiscal year would have been with incomplete data, as the complete data was not done until I was able to complete the bank reconciliations for April, May, and June to make sure that I had complete information to submit for the fourth quarter. Now, the subsequent balances after the fourth quarter would then become the beginning balances for the new budget year. Is that
I
clear?
understand exactly what you're saying. Thank you, Ms. Sandoval, for everything that you've done with this budget and with providing the auditor with the information necessary to move that audit forward in an expedited way. We really appreciate your efforts.
Are there any more questions? I would be happy to address them regarding the various funds of the budget recap or the fourth quarter recap.
I just have a concern, Mayor.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
The fourth quarter budget is marked INF on some areas of realized. Is there a reason for that?
Sally, would you paraphrase?
Some of
Uh,
the,
expenditures on solid waste and there was some on PD. And there's also some on the federal opioid situation.
we're looking at the funds for solid waste, PD and the opioid funding.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, what was the question?
there's a INF mark on the realized percentage realized.
An INF mark on the percentage realized. Which page is that, Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh gosh. They're not numbered, so I'll say, if we go from the back of the packet, it's 3 pages forward. There's solid waste, and most of them are where originals are zeros, adjustments are zeros. And then we have the year to date and the balances and then realize there's an INF mark. I'm just curious about that. And then there's also another mark. It's a NAN mark. I'm sure that INF means that it was probably not budgeted of originally if we're talking about solid waste. Because I don't think that was included in the first budget that was turned into the state, correct?
The preliminary, no.
Joyce?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure though.
This is the fourth quarter budget from the local government budget management system that was returned to us with the year-to-date actuals fiscal year 22, 23, fourth quarter. The columns are the asset, the original adjustments, adjusted year-to-date balance and percent realized. And on some of the funds, they, instead of a dollar amount, it's noted just the initials INF. And we're not sure what that stands for.
I'm not exactly sure what document you're looking at, but on the recap for the solid waste, we have on the fourth quarter, we have revenues of 1,225,418 rounded up. We have transfers in of 65,000. We have expenditures of 1,224,224, rounded down, for an ending balance of 290,790.42. Now, I'm not quite sure what Mayor Pro Tem's question is, because I don't have the detail that she is asking about. But we ended up the year with an approximate 70,000 more than we started the year with.
So the document that I'm looking at is probably something that came from the state, correct? This document here?
That's correct.
So when they look at zeros in the beginning, it's because the preliminary budget did not have numbers for that department, correct?
Correct. The
So
in-
that's why there's insufficient, I think, insufficient numbers to create a percentage balance. That's what I'm thinking. The only question that I have about that deals with, there's some in the PD, which I'm not sure why there's zero balances to start there. So, hold on.
Mayor Pro Tem, city councilors, we did have another issue at the beginning of this budget preparation cycle where there had not been some of the drawdowns completed. And I'm looking to see if that might be what had affected those numbers. Subsequently, when Ms. McCure was here, she was able to complete some of those drawdowns for approximately $2.3 million. And I believe that may have affected some of those initial numbers because she was in the process of completing that while this was being prepared.
And then the other area that are marked INF also deals with the abatement opioid fund. Original zero, adjustment zero, year to date deals with what we were awarded. And the balances are all exactly what we were awarded. And so nothing has been drawn down from that. Correct?
That's correct. There had been initially some charges that thought could be charged against that, but that was corrected. At this time, all of the opioid settlement funds are intact and set aside and nothing's encumbered against them.
Very important that we note that publicly, that no money has been drawn down from those opioid funds as of yet.
Correct.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Ms. Sandoval. Thank you, Ms. Baxter, and thank you, Mr. Lujan.
Baxter, am I supposed to respond to any of that? It was breaking up as it was coming through. Therefore, I don't know.
Yes, you. Thank you.
Specifically ask the question.
Thank you. We're, at this
Yes.
moment, they are reviewing the documents. I believe we're waiting to see if any members of the governing body have any additional questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Baxter.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Thank you. Concerning and I'll pose this question to the clerk's office. Concerning the business license and registration, we budgeted 41,000, which was what had previously been collected in previous years, and we have collected 22,000. So I'm curious about that. Did we have businesses that have not registered their business? What is going on with that?
Mayor Pro Tem, governing body, there is quite a bit out there and we're trying to get code enforcement to go around and take care of that. Also, I do know that there has been a lot from the past that have not paid up to date. So I have collected like $700 from one business. I've collected 500 from another. I've collected 400. I have been generating a lot of money in because there has been a lot of years that they did not update their license. And that is tacked on with late fees. The license itself is only $35. The late fee is $50. So then you times that per year, which I have been doing. But yes, there is outstanding businesses, of course.
I recommend that code enforcement make this a priority, Mayor. It's very important for businesses to be registered in the city because that forces them to have the buy-in to become part of the economic process that moves the city forward. And it's important for us as a city to have all of those business registered. And it also is important to be business friendly and to allow for these people to have this ability to get this license without too much of a headache. We need to make it as easy as possible when somebody wants to open a business here in the community, that they have an opportunity to come in, one stop, knock it out, get it done and be done with it, and then just renew either online or in person here, however they can do it on the next year. So we're coming up into January right now. We have possibly half of the licenses that have not been renewed as of yet. I think it's important to send code enforcement to the businesses and get this businesses signed in. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Comment from the body.
Motion to adopt resolution number 2023-20, fourth quarter budget for 22-23.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez to adopt Resolution 20, adopting the FY 2023 fourth quarter financial report ending June 30th, 2023. Second by Counselor Nanette Rodriguez. No discussion. We'll call the roll. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll? So
Yeah.
motion and the second on the floor.
Mayor, Manny has a question.
Oh, Counselor Manny Martinez.
Yes, thank you. My question is just on the expenditures of lodgers tax. Where did that, those expenditures go to?
You're on, Counselor?
Well, I feel on all three recaps that I'm looking at, they start out with a large balance and then they have expenditures of large amounts as well. When I look at the last one, it shows us with a balance of 53,000 after an expenditures of 138,000.
We have clarification on that, Mayor?
When the previous one I'm looking at that says 2023, it had a starting of 198,000 with an expenditure of 166,000, leaving the 102,000 for the next one.
What document are you looking at, sir?
I'm looking at, it says State of New Mexico Local Government Budget Management System. It was sent budget recap fiscal year 23-24.
Okay, so you're looking at this one.
And you'll see where it starts with the 198,046, and then it drops with expenditures of 166, and he leaves with the balance of 102. Then if you go to the next recap where it says final entity, it starts with 121,000, revenues of 70,000, but then expenditures of 138,000, leaving a balance of 53,000.
So it was my understanding that some money was inadvertently taken out of that fund, correct, Mayor? And replaced?
Joyce, can you discuss the lodgers tax? Are you familiar with any of the expenditures and income for that line item?
Yes, Sally. Mayor Pro Tem and councilors. The largest tax has been receiving funds, from the various hotels on a periodic basis. Not all of them submit reports monthly, but they do submit their remittances on a regular basis. Now, we have received, and I'm talking about the fourth quarter, and this is fiscal 2023. We have received 98,584.20 of lodger's tax, and we have spent 62,339.70, leaving us with a balance of 198,045.50. Now, the lodger's tax monies are in a bank account that is restricted. And in the same bank account, we have the opioid funds that are listed in, I forget which of the state. Oh, the legislative council, the legislative local government budget management system has it as a 27,000 account. Now, in that same bank account, we have the opioid money of 236,724, roughly, of revenues that have come in from the opioid settlement. And we have expenditures of 58,390.38, leaving us with 178,333.68. However, I know that the 58,000 was related to the expenditures that were used for the police department for an opioid officer. And bear with me, I do not have the detail on how much of that went to the officer position and how much of that went anywhere else. But those two amounts from the opioid settlement and from the lodger's tax are what are included in the bank account that we have titled as restricted for specific purposes. If the council wishes, I will provide a detail of the 58,390.38 to them or to you tomorrow.
I think it's important that council get that information, Mayor.
Ended.
And one other thing, I don't want to talk over her, I'll let her finish. One other thing that she mentioned is that,
Council.
thank you, Ms. Sandoval. I think it's important that the council does receive that detailed information on the lodger's tax. Being that,
Yes.
we're unaware of exactly how that was spent, I think it's important that we find out. One other thing that you mentioned is that they're commingled in an account with the opioid money. Did you say that? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
I don't think we should do it like that. I really feel like lodger's tax is its own entity. It should always stay on its own. And opioid is federal money that we really need to be careful about how we handle this. So I really believe that those two monies need to be separated completely. Whether it's creating another account or however the department decides to do it, that's fine. But I don't like commingling them, even though they're both for specific issues. not being the same, of course, but I think it's important that we do separate those two accounts. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, Mayor and city councilors and Ms. Baxter. The lodger's tax money is accounted for separately. The opioid settlement funds are accounted for separately. They share the same bank account in which they go into simply because those monies are restricted. And so they are in the bank account that holds restricted money. But they are, revenues and expenses are accounted for separately. We do not lose track of what has been spent out of one source of funds versus the other. The bank account simply holds restricted funds.
Thank you for clarification, ma'am.
Thank you. Counselor Justin Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. It was brought up about an opioid officer and monies utilized for that. I'm a little confused if you can elaborate on that. Because I thought it was my understanding that no money was utilized, but then now I'm hearing that money was utilized for the opioid officer.
Mhm.
Is that what we're seeing on this fourth quarter report? So.
Mayor Pro Tem,
So,
Counselor Salazar Torres, there had initially, when there was a misunderstanding on the funds, that had been one of the items that had initially been thought that the opioid funds could pay for an opioid lieutenant and retention pay. Those are the items that were restored back to that fund. And I can ask Joyce to elaborate if that would have affected the way the reports are generated. Because of natural attrition, staff changes, we had a lieutenant who left. We were able to retain the person hired when we thought it could be with opioid funds, but they're actually funded out of the general budget completely as a regular employee's salary line item. So that was
Ms.
part,
Bax-
I'm sorry,
Ms.
that was
Bax-
part of the error. Please go ahead, Joyce.
Ms. Baxter, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, and councilors, that decision was made subsequent to June 30th. And the funds were restored to the opioid fund. However, that is not reflected in, as of June 30th. It is reflected as of the third quarter in fiscal 24. It's a timing issue. The funds were restored 100% to the opioid fund.
Thank you.
Do we have an idea, Ms. Sandoval, how much money was taken from that fund and then restored?
I'm sorry, if that question was addressed to me, it came through very broken up. So Sally, I would, Ms. Baxter, I would expect if you could reiterate.
Do we have a number of how much was used from the opioid funds and then subsequently restored? Do we know how much that was?
There were no other expenditures besides the 58,390.38. So that 58,391 as rolled up was restored. So in fiscal 23 quarter 4, the fund was restored to its revenues of 236,724.06.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Counselor Justin Salazar.
Thank you. I get sort of the clarity on the same account, but different accounts and with the opioid and lodger's tax, but I really, really wholeheartedly would like to see different accounts in these, for each of these line items, just because, we inadvertently utilize money from opioids already. And we're under the microscope, and I think we need to be transparent and just have these, whether we open another account, do something separate to get these things, cleared. Thank you.
What else have any questions? One of the primary issues is the city has multiple bank accounts under Century Bank, and the city's gonna need to look at with the manager and the finance director trying to consolidate those accounts so that we're not constantly needing to do transfers.
Follow up, Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
One other thing that I'd like to see come before the governing body that we haven't seen in a long time is signature authority for accounts. Should come every time we have a change in leadership in the city manager's office. This governing body should approve that signature authority to those accounts.
And I agree with you, Counselor, but going back, that hasn't been done for 12 years, but we will do it.
I think it's been a little less than that, but it's time that we get back.
Couldn't find anything in the minutes regarding it because the last time was when they appointed Mr. Leroy Garcia as city manager. And he took the position and then he resigned shortly after. They had to change it again. That was the only time we could look at in Laserfish.
There was some after, under Mayor Alice Lucero, we did a signature change at every juncture. After Mayor Lucero, that sort of went by the wayside, but I think it's an important practice. The governing body needs to understand who is signing off on these accounts, who has a signature authority, so that if it ever comes up again, that one single person moved money, there's a reason and a rationale and an explanation for those things. I do believe that dual signatures should be required at all times and at all accounts. So I think that's very important also. So I'd like to see that come before us, Mayor, if you get an opportunity.
Additionally, there's staff that have access to accounts that have no business having access to some of the accounts and some of the private information. And so in talking with Mr. Lujan earlier about that today, we're going to be looking at that closely to see who has access to accounts from within staff. Certain staff should have access, but not 6 or 7 people. And we need to make it very clear going over with the opioid money. I don't know if that was communicated. The lieutenant positions were paid from the general fund, and Sally did talk about that, but I just want that to be very clear in the record.
That's correct, Mayor. And if I may add on just for clarification, some of the staff who have access to it do only have read only.
Does that mean read only and print capabilities?
Yep.
That's correct,
That's a problem.
Yes, it is.
but it's limited. They're not able to move funds between accounts.
But the
me
ability
just-
to print that will need to come to an end.
Let me just state this, that I feel like all bank accounts are public information. If the public wants to know anything on any account, they have the right to know. But I feel like there's a process that is had in place by state government through the Open Meetings Act and to the Request of Information Act that needs to be followed in this community. I have received documents at my desk given to me by a private citizen that have our accounts, our statements on there that I have not even seen, and I have fiduciary responsibility to this community. It's offensive, to say the least, and it's not right. If somebody wants information like that, they can have it if they follow the right channels to have it. And anybody that works for the city of Espanola has a responsibility to guard that information and not be sharing information just off the top of their head or within or outside of this community or to anybody. If counselors want the information, they can have the information. They go through the city manager's office and request any documents they need. If they need those documents to make good, solid decisions, absolutely, they should have them. But there's a way and a proper way to get these type of documents. And the way that I've had them come back to this chambers is just straight wrong and offensive.
Mr. Justice Garza Torres.
Thank you. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. So 58,000 was utilized, if I'm not mistaken, for the opioid officer out of the general fund.
Mayor,
What was it, 58? Because the 58,000 in one quarter, that is a lot of money. So I'm curious of the breakdown of the 58,000.
Counselor Salazar Torres, mistakenly, initially, some of the opioid funds were used as retention bonuses for police personnel, and that's why it wasn't, that amount is not just a person's salary. There was a series of retention pay. One was, two of them were authorized by the fund from the governor's office. The third was used out of the opioid, and that's part of that amount that was placed back into that count when it was determined that there should have been more process and mechanism before utilizing those funds.
We had originally utilized that money for retention pay in the police department, and they were considering hiring an opioid officer, and the fire department also was looking at that possibility of utilizing those fundings for somebody that would be in the department that would be directly dealing with opioid situations. Shay's the one that brought it to our attention that it was not done correctly, and at that point, it was rectified. Am I correct, Mayor?
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Reddick?
You look at me like you have a question.
Oh, you got close to the mic, so I didn't know if you were gonna say something.
Well, I missed the first half of what the Mayor Pro Tem said, but I believe she was simply saying that the police department and the retention bonuses could not come out of the fund, so they were reimbursed from the general fund. That's the figure you see here. The fire department has or talked about an opioid first responder. I don't know if that has occurred or not. It's something that we consider is possible. It's a little bit on the fringe of what the funds can be used for, but I think they can be. But that's the only one.
Thank you for your proactiveness in correcting us when we've done things incorrectly, Mr. Rennick, and thank you for your clarification on what is allowable under the Opioid Act. We appreciate your professionalism. Thank you again.
Baxter, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, Councilors, may I comment?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Joyce.
Go ahead.
There are documents and there is language on what the opioid money may be used for. In much of its respect, it is very general in reference to addressing opioid issues. If you can look at it, you could come to the same conclusion as possibly our chief of police, that an officer's salary, if his responsibilities are to train and affect persons, that are subject to opioid addiction, opioid, I'm searching for a word for the avoidance. The wording is very broad, and it could be a very subjective decision. I would encourage the counselors to look at the language and familiarize themselves, because it's not black and white. It's very much subjective to the overall approach of the city to what they consider as opioid avoidance, opioid eradication, opioid mitigation. So I wouldn't say that the persons that made those decisions initially were wrong. I'm just saying that the language is broad and it's subject to discussion and overall determination from the city council as to what the council wants as its opioid addiction, how they are going to address it. So each and every counselor needs to be familiar with the language, and collectively they should decide what they consider as appropriate use of those funds according to the language that was provided by the federal government. And that's all I need to say is that it's not very clear because the language is broad and it's subject to discussion, interpretation. And I just caution people to say that it was done wrong, because I don't think it was done wrong. All I think is that everybody's interpretation could be considered. It's the council's decision to say that's a consideration they accept or that's a consideration that they reject. Thank you for your attention, and I will let you return to your discussion.
Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Johan.
Mayor, councilors, you heard that very clearly from Mrs. Sandoval. It's a discretionary issue that the governing body has the authority to use that money as they see fit within the broad range of what she just described. So if you felt like it was something that was out of bounds, then you look at the discretionaries as you guys deemed it. And that's how it should be allocated and spent within that broad range of the funding itself.
I'll go one step further, Mayor. I feel like the public really needs to have some input on how these funds are spent. I feel like we need to have community town hall meetings and give people an opportunity to tell us what their priorities are with this opioid money. The opioid situation in Espanola has been something that has affected each and every family here. Let me say that again. The opioid situation here in Espanola has been something that has affected every single family. Every single family has had a family member that has dealt with this type of an addiction. We've lost way too many young people, and they're dropping like flies in our community. So it's important that we give these families an opportunity to have some input as to what they feel would help their situation. And I feel like we need to get started with this relatively quickly. I think it's something that we really need to get on the stick and start to get behind and figure out how the community wants to spend this money. Thank you.
Any further questions regarding the fourth quarter financial report? There being none, No more discussion. There's a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Garcia, can you please call the roll?
Counselors Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Denise D. Benavides,
Not in favor.
Manuel J. Martinez,
Not in favor.
Justin Salazar Torres,
Not in favor.
Dennis Tim Salazar,
Against the motion.
Nanette D. Rodriguez.
For the motion.
That is 4 against. Oh, I'm sorry. And Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
I'm curious as to why we have no discussion and 3 people voting against this. If there's reason and rationale why this should not be adopted, those are the things that should be brought to this table. All of us should have information that people have. I'm gonna vote in favor of this, but I want to qualify my vote and state that if people do have information that this is not a good thing, I wish I would have gotten that information. Thank you.
We have 4 against and 4 for the motion.
Yeah, I know, Counselor. I'm Mayor Pro Tem. For the motion.
Motion carries.
Discussion approval of resolution 21 for the acceptance and approval of the FY 2024 budget. Ms. Sally Baxter.
Mayor Pro Tem, counselors, I printed out the detailed report that had been previously mailed out. I'll note that it is for the 2 months ending August 31st of 2023. The reason for that is it was prepared by Ms. McCure, and it's the budget that included the 4th quarter reconciliations. I apologize. Those we were able to complete those at the end of August. So rather than try to go back in time, the report was printed for the actual date at which those 4th quarter reconciliations were completed and submitted. And Ms. Sandoval is still standing by. We are happy to stand for questions.
Yeah, we haven't had a motion. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, second by Counselor Annette Rodriguez. Under discussion, Counselor Justice Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. So I do have a question, and I was noticing, and maybe Police Chief can chime in on this as well, but in the FY 23 budget for the PD, they did have a grant or some monies in there in the approximation of 140,000 or something of such, but it's not in the FY 24 budget. And my understanding is that they never utilized this in the FY 23 budget, but yet that money's still available to them, if I'm not mistaken, but it's nowhere to be found on this FY 24 budget.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Salazar Torres, we are still trying to make sure that we've recovered all of those line items. There were some of the records, and I'm not sure what had happened previously. We know we have a list of things to follow up on, but I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you on that. I know Chief has been very active in tracking down the grants and seeing what happened.
Then just to follow up on that, I mean, obviously, this budget's still not correct, but then a follow-up to that is also, I was looking through this and it may have skipped my eyes, but where are we budgeted to pay our trespasses and so forth that we're paying out to the pueblos, et cetera? Where are those coming out of? Because I don't see that in this budget, and we've already made a commitment to that prior to all this, that we'd be paying.
So Counselor, that's a good question. We have not actually, we're gonna have to do a bar regarding that because we haven't finalized an actual payment schedule yet. So we can't do that until we have a finalized payment schedule. Hoping Mr. Lujan can work on doing that, but I mean, we're still several months out probably till we adopt an actual payment schedule of what they're gonna come to an agreement in terms of the easement right-of-way fees. At that point, then we'll have the projection and will come before us with the bar requesting that allocation. But I mean, that would have been a shot in the dark for us to be able to guesstimate what was it gonna be, because it started off at one point as low as 60,000. And so we really need to take that into consideration. And that's how it's been done in the past. That's when we adopted it for Okewinga as well. That's what we did as well.
If I may follow up to that, but I guess I'm getting at, for example, the monies, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rennick. Was it $7,500, et cetera, that, you know, we're committed to, that we just had a meeting about? I'm wondering where those monies are coming out, because we've already committed to that. Where is that in this budget?
Counselor Salazar Torres, the $7,500 per month, which is presumably an interim agreement until a final one's made, was not accepted by the Pueblo on the terms that we offered. The Pueblo responded that 7,500 would be non-refundable in the event that an agreement was not made. So we're not paying it yet.
Okay.
And as to where it comes from, I don't have that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Your question on this? And being none, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll?
Counselors Nanette D. Rodriguez,
For the motion.
Dennis Tim Salazar,
Against the motion.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
Come back to me, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
Peggy, oh. We're still.
In favor.
Counselors Manuel J. Martinez,
Against the motion?
Denise D. Benavides,
Against the motion.
Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor?
Justin Salazar Torres,
Against the motion.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
four against and four for the motion.
For the motion.
Five for the motion, four against the motion.
Discussion approval of Espanola Fire Department Training Facility presented by John Wickersham, Assistant Fire Chief, and Chief Johnny Martinez. What a minute. Yeah. Mr. Rennick, I'm gonna defer to you. Quick.
Thank you. You may want to hear from Chief Wickersham. It's our opinion, I say our office, that this is not yet ready for approval, that we still need information from the vendor.
Mr. DC.
Yes, Mayor, governing body, city manager. Attorney, after discussing with the attorney earlier this afternoon, we will hold off on this and bring it before you to the next council meeting, if that's okay. If we can table it to the next council meeting.
Motion to table to the next council meeting. Is that what's recommended?
Yeah, from legal counsel. Motion to table by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres to the meeting on October 10th. That would be, no, October 9th, no, October 10th, yes. There's a second by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez. No discussion? All in favor, motion signified by, oh, roll call, forgive me. We have people online.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Councilors Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Nanette D. Rodriguez,
Motion.
Manuel J. Martinez,
For the motion.
Denise D. Benavides, Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Discussion approval of Rio Grande Market presented by Jolene Nelson, Community Development Director, and Rebecca Sewell, Planning and Land Use Director.
Good evening, Mayor Vihil, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the council. I don't know if you can see the attachments in front of you. I think it's page 51 that we're looking at. It's getting late. I'll go ahead and get started because you guys might have a better view of what's in front of you. So today Jolene and I are presenting the Rio. Yeah, the Rio Grande Market. So this is, we'll get to the proposed site here in a minute, but what is the Rio Grande Market? So the Rio Grande Market is a seasonal, community-based outdoor hub for highlighting food trucks, growers, crafters, artisans, and makers in the Northern Rio Grande Valley. And we can scroll.
Twice more.
We'll get there. And so I'll keep talking while we work this out. So why does Espanola need this? The city of Espanola sits at the convergence of water and culture in northern New Mexico and has a lot of existing assets and a lot of diverse assets. It's the confluence of agricultural opportunity and tradition and has the opportune conditions to capture and highlight the unique assets of the region through nurturing small community-based business.
So when we were discussing this, we both thought of different things that we could do, and this was the most the best idea that we came up with. And some of the things, it's on the, well, I'll just go. Some of the things, why does Espanola need this? Observations and opportunities, if you have that page in front of you. Vendors are scattered throughout the city, and we thought it'd be a great place to have one central location. For example, the food trucks, just people on the street, you know, and also parking. Where we're proposing is there's a lot of parking around that area, and just difficult access, and it's just an easy place to access. Missed opportunity for placemakers, opportunity to highlight the culture and agricultural aspects of the region. And then the place that we're proposing is the Hunter Ford area, the Hunter Ford lot. And we are not going inside the building, but it is all the lot.
And so just why the Hunter Ford building? So the Hunter Ford lot has been contemplated in the past for various agricultural center projects, such as one of the proposals in 2017, due to its prime location along several major routes of travel. You know, it's right next to the RTD stop. I know that we just had a meeting with Lanel about housing, but they're planning on revving up their park and ride and their presence up to Lanel and Espanola. And, you know, there's also just, it's a major thoroughfare with access. So it presents an opportunity that commuters can capture these central vendors and get to spend their money at small business. If you want to go up a few slides, actually. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that one. So here's kind of the proposed layout. This is a heat map, so you can kind of see the layout that we're proposing. Like we were saying, it's all outdoor. So you can kind of see in the top right, the artisans and local food and crafts sold under canopy spaces. Vendors will have to provide their own canopy and weights. We've been meeting, we met with the EPA and it cannot be permeated on the ground. We can still utilize that space. So they would have to weigh down their canopies instead of drill into the ground. And then under that in the green is spaces for food trucks to sell prepared food. A lot of what we're looking at least from the planning lens, is that, you know, we have these food trucks that are scattered throughout town, permitting them, and they want to, you know, have the infrastructure and the amenities of being in a centralized place, but they're kind of doing it all individually, which is disrupting traffic flow and causing different issues that have been presented up to us in the planning office. The pink area in the center between the two buildings is a shade and dining area, identified as a small area to develop shade sales and picnic tables. That would be something that we could seek donation from local businesses or seek placemaking and New Mexico Main Street funds for. On the bottom left corner, that area right there, and you can kind of see those little pinpoints there. Those are the existing monitoring wells on site. So that area would have to be roped off and closed to the public. And right, you can see in that blue spot right there, market parking is on site, and overflow parking could take place on the RTD park and ride. And so here it is kind of by the numbers, so you can see the exact layout. So it can fit about 4 to 5 food trucks, just kind of depending on length, in that far left corner. The shade sales, those are about 20 by 20 to scale. So 6 of those would fit there. And then you can see right above those monitoring wells could be a potential site for canopy expansion. 5 canopies could fit there. And then on the other side of the Hunter Ford building, you can see the 6 canopies on the bottom left, and then the 5 on the top right. And those arrows are just kind of the proposed traffic circulation throughout the site.
And so we are also having vendor permits and city business license to be picked up by the vendors, and then the grocery receipts tax or any taxes, it would be up to the vendor to pay for those. And then we just have the safety measures, and they're just pretty much canopy vendors may also be subject to fire inspection, and we'll work with the fire department. And also one of the things that we're not going to do is have what they call added value products unless they have gone to a commercial kitchen, and we'll ask for a certificate of sorts if they do that. We will not allow alcohol or cannabis sales on the site. And we talked to the lieutenants when the chief was out about having maybe bike patrol through the area, through the plaza area, all the way to from the city hall, all the way down to the bridge and back. And we thought that would be really helpful. Just their presence would be helpful. And then egress and ingress of having less congestion. That was kind of one of the main safety things. We also have all meat products being sold only by the food trucks and not by individuals.
Okay, and so I touched on this a little bit in a couple slides ago. So some of the identified potential site improvements, I kind of got a rough estimate based on a few numbers that I pulled. Shade sales and weighted anchors for those shade sales to kind of create a central space if people buy food in the morning. and they want to eat it before they get on the RTD, they would have a place to sit and enjoy that. Or if they just want a central meeting place, you know, in the middle of town. So that would be about $2,500. We've identified a few potential funding sources, that we could look into for that. That wouldn't come out of the city budget. They would be, external. Working on an estimate. I've been talking to Elijah about resurfacing the parking area, and restriping it for those proposed parking spaces. And those parking spaces are to scale. I think off the top of my head, it came out to like 27, 28 parking spaces. You'd need additional materials for roping off the monitoring well area. This would just be kind of an aesthetic design choice. You could spend anywhere from $400 to $1,200, I guess, any more than $1,200, depending on the materials that you wanted to utilize for that. Another conversation I've been having with Elijah in the streets department is looking into repainting crosswalks. And there is kind of some preliminary discussion on making those crosswalks kind of a creative space. It could be a Gabriella, I know is a name that's been thrown out to us about potentially. I don't know. Is that you?
Yeah.
It's so good to meet you.
That was epic.
Well, now I know exactly who I need to talk to. So we're looking into potential site improvements for those crosswalks and doing it in a creative way. And I think that's
Unless you
have
Motion to approve for the sake of discussion.
Counselor
Second.
Justin Salazar Torres, motion made, second by Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
Under discussion, Mayor. does it-
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, actually.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Just a question. Have we reached out to some of these vendors that are around town and how many are, what's their buy-in? Are they?
We actually talked to vendors and asked them if they thought this was a good idea, and they all said yes, every single one of them.
It seems like they'd be on board.
we drove around and conducted some informal interviews, and everyone was really pretty excited about it.
Right.
We got a hibiscus tea. That was great.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez.
I'm wondering if the Downtown Action Group would be interested in helping with the shade structures. I know that they don't have any funding left. Are you sure? Huh, okay. All right, that's all I have.
Counselor Aaron Salazar.
That property needs a lot of improvement. Those fences are down all around. And I just want to say, I think that's a good idea because it's right across the street from where I work.
This is moving. Well. Counselor Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor. Just really quick, you guys already know I love this project because we had a discussion, like a couple of months ago, right? And these are active. You guys have no idea what they have up their sleeves, that I hope that they bring more of their ideas and their projects to council. I was sad about the hotel deal. I don't know if the governing body knows that you actually had a hotel deal in your hands, but we chose not to renew the contract apparently with Retail Coach. So unfortunately, but maybe at some point you could bring that back. I know that in conversation with film, which you're also working on, that's something that they have requested, right? So hopefully you can bring that back to fruition. And I know you're working on something Councilor Manning is gonna love you for, but we're gonna make sure it's a surprise. And just the amount of work and just you guys being out there and talking to businesses and just the stuff that you guys are doing is exciting. I won't share any of what's been shared with me just because I want the governing body to be surprised as you guys bring stuff forward. But I love the idea. I think that it would be a humongous improvement for us to do something there, right? But not only that, but to bring some traffic and just some more positivity to the west side, right? And just having those vendors there where people can know exactly where to go, right? To get what they want, sweets or, chicken scratch. So I just want to commend you ladies because I like the idea. I think it's great.
Counselor Annette Rodriguez.
Just think this is a fabulous idea. It's a great idea. So on the west side, those of us that work on this side of town have to go across town to get our lunch. And so this is incredible. If you need any participation to help you clean up, I'm available. Just let me know.
Likewise.
Thank you. And also, just to say it, we need a grocery store on this side of town as well.
Counselor Dennis Tim Salazar.
Thank you, Mayor. Ladies, I think this is a very great idea, great presentation. Thank you for that and for the hard work. Rebecca, you're also very entertaining for this time of night, especially. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Manny Martinez.
Thank you, sir. I do have a few questions. Would we be needing to do any improvements for ADA compliance as far as that's concerned? I also noticed you had stated no pets would be allowed in the booths or in the food, but would that also include people that might have service dogs as well? Another question I do have is the amount, would this be a mandatory for the vendor trucks to participate? Or is it all, by choice and also who would be conducting that? Because I'm sure there's a limited space as far as how many vendors can be in there. Would this be like a rotation so that different artists, different food vendors would be allowed at different times to participate with their trucks or art booths at this areas? Thank you.
Either way. I think
Sorry to hit you with so many there at one time.
answer the ADA question, so we'll start there. So for ADA compliance, are you talking about specifically with the service dogs, or you're talking about all ADA compliant?
ADA in general, I don't know how the condition of the parking lot as far as like for wheelchairs or anything like that is or maybe walkers, depending if people would come utilizing that type of situation. So I just and also parking as well, having parking that's designated for handicapped and stuff like that.
Thank you, Counselor Martinez. So I can definitely rework the parking plan to include handicap parking. I think that is an excellent point. I think, and then kind of to your other question for service dogs, we wouldn't be able to limit service dogs in the area. So that would not be a restriction that would apply.
So the vendors would be by choice if they want to participate. The trucks would be definitely by choice. If they choose to, they can. If they don't want to and they like their spot wherever it is, that's fine too. And what was the last one?
The other one was the vendor scheduling.
Oh, yes.
So I've been looking into some free and relatively easy to use software for scheduling and booking. That is a good point, is that we should have a rotation to give people opportunities kind of on a rotating basis. I think that's a policy that we've yet to work out. So that'll definitely be part of our discussion that follows this meeting.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. It'd be so nice to see some action down on that portion of the city. So thank you so much.
I have seen some of the trucks that are in town are sort of put semi-permanently. So I'm not sure that some of them would want to pull their whole thing out. But is it possible that maybe they would send another sub stand to the area with not their whole truck, but partially send either food that's prepared in their truck or still be represented in that area, even though they don't pull their whole truck into the area is my point. And for those of you that have not tried Chicken Scratch, I highly recommend that place. It's ridiculous. We are chicken wing connoisseurs, and I'll tell you what, she has one of the best sauces that I have ever had. Amazing chicken sandwich and amazing chicken wings. So definitely looking forward, like Councilor Rodriguez stated, it would be so nice to have somewhere to eat here on this side of town.
Follow up, Mayor, just really quick. So, Mr. City Manager, what would it take? It'd be kind of cool to have above, I don't know if it's doable, but where you could just walk across to the plaza instead of walking through traffic, you just climb up the stairs. Yeah,
We've been talking about doing a catwalk for the last 28 years.
can we do it?
The state would have to pay for it.
Yes.
Any further comment? I just want to commend Rebecca and Jolene for doing this. It's actually kind of interesting. We were at Municipal League last month, and so Debbie, Mizell, and I were talking. We actually had one of the last formal events for the conference was at a food truck plaza there off of downtown Farmington. They had a pavilion, they had a playground, they had actually built structures for the bathrooms. Very nice setup, lots of picnic tables. And so we had an opportunity to talk to some of the staff from the city of Farmington, and they indicated that they get about 100 people. Well, Farmington is a lot bigger than Espanola, but they get about 100 to 200 people a day that just check out the food truck plaza, utilize the tables and such. And it's a great economic development for the area. It coalesces and brings all the food trucks together. I'm excited about this venture. I just have one issue, and it's because I actually have been involved in the acquisition of this property. Back in 2011, when the city, myself, Mayor Alice Lucero, Daniel Roybal, and my good friend, Miss Beulah Sandoval, we went to go meet with Mr. C.L. Hunter back in 2011 to talk about acquiring this property. The city had this property appraised. It appraised for $782,000. I'll never forget that. Mr. Hunter, because of his generosity to this community and because of his dad's CV and their commitment to this community, he agreed to let this property go for $300,000. And that was his commitment to this community. And his commitment was that he wanted to build a library there. When I was on the library board, that was the original plan and intent for that piece of property. The city's gone through multiple itinerations and incarnations of what they want to do with that property, but the city has maintained a commitment to developing that property with the intent of keeping that name of Hunter because of the Hunter family and their contributions to this valley, to Valley National Bank, to Hunter Ford. So unfortunately for me, the big thing with me is the name of the property. I really think that we have an honor. We have an honorable trust that we have to maintain to Mr. Hunter. He's left us, but back in 2011, I mean, he sold us the property for way less than appraised value. That property was a steal back in 2011, and I feel that would be unfortunately stabbing Mr. Hunter in the back for the contribution that he gave to this community. So I would like us to consider naming this the Hunter Market after Mr. Hunter and the Hunter family and their contributions to this community. And whatever happens on that property, I hope that the city maintains a commitment to the Hunter family to ensure that that name is preserved for years to come.
Ellie changed.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two thoughts. My first thought is, I think that a name change is low hanging fruit, pun intended. My second thought is we could look into the possibility of bringing in a mobile library at some point, if that was part of the commitment to the Hunter family.
Well, I think that was the commitment at the time, was to put a library, but I think the ultimate overall commitment would be to maintaining their memory of the Hunter family. I think that the library aspect is has far dissipated. But
Sure.
I think we still have a commitment because this was their property and such. Any other comments from the governing body? A motion and a second on the floor? No further discussion? Ms. Garcia, please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
Favor?
Councilors Nanette D. Rodriguez,
For the motion.
Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor?
Denise D. Benavides,
Favor.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor?
Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just really quick, I wanted to acknowledge our commissioners. One is for the economic development and the other one is for planning.
Planning Commission.
Same house.
Thank you.
Discussion approval of the NIMRAC contract with the city of Espanola presented by Jeremy Smith and Community Services Director. And Sally, I think you might need to chime in for this one too. Oh, no. This is.
Honorable Mayor, councilors, thank you. And I have with me Gabriella of the Northern New Mexico Regional Arts Center. Friend Rebecca. Silva. All right, last on the agenda. Thank you for allowing me to go last. I'd like to wrap this up as quick as possible for everybody's sake. We have on the packet the Northern New Mexico Regional Arts Center contract. We have made a few minor adjustments. The main one is the amount that will be paid to them annually. That was part of the budget hearings a few months ago, where we discussed paying them $6,000 a month, a total of $72,000 per year. The other major change to this contract is that it can be looked at annually instead of every 3 years to make other additional adjustments as needed more frequently. And then we did remove some of the language that was referring to some appendixes that weren't part of the packet and didn't have any reference. It was just a map that had been on the original contract and then was no longer part of the site plan. So we just cleaned up that contract. So it was a little more clear of what the Regional Arts Center was doing as far as their scope of work. And to make that the main adjustment was the amount that was being paid by them by the city.
Motion to approve?
I want to caution you. Hold on a minute, Council. I have a comment, okay? Are we done, Jeremy?
Yes.
Sally and I had some discussion about this. I really strongly advise the governing body to not move forward with this evening. And Sally, you can digest. This is a situation that has been flagged by the state auditor's office. We're not hiding anything, but this is going to take some serious review of the finances and such of how we handle appropriation of allocation of money to nonprofit entities in the city of Espanola, not just NIMRAC, it's Espanola Valley Humane Society, the YMCA Teen Center. But this one was identified clearly by the state auditor's office. Mr. Rennick, you can chime in for possible violations of anti-donation clause, reciprocals and such. I saw this on the agenda. It had already hit on the agenda, and I had told Sally I kind of preferred that this would have not gotten to this point. Because the city of Espanola, and I've talked about it for several months now, we do not have a way of holding contractors accountable for the services that they provide back to the city of Espanola, and we provide them facilities. At San Gabriel Historical Society, Espanola Valley Chamber of Commerce, the Northern New Mexico Regional Arts Center, all these entities that we have allowing to utilize and operate out of our city facilities, we are utilizing them, and some of them we're paying more money. For instance, San Gabriel Historical Society is not getting any money from the city of Espanola, and they're the only one that's operating out of a city facility. So we need to look at the deliverables and such, and I just wish this wouldn't have gotten to this agenda for tonight, because we're still in discussion with the state auditor's office regarding this. Sally, you want to chime in?
Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, I apologize that we had not been able to get an answer. We were hoping to get a little more resolution before this, but it is still something that we have not received in the feedback from the state auditor's office on their concerns with this.
Mr. Rennick, do you want to chime in?
As you say, Mayor, the auditor tagged this. I don't think the auditor's done anything with it yet, because I don't think they've got full information. So getting a report back from the auditor and looking at the fiscal year 2022 findings would be worthwhile.
And I apologize. This should have been told to you, informed to you ahead of time. And we apologize. Sally, do you have anything else? Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Martinez.
I just want to chime in on behalf of Gabriela and the work that she is doing at Northern New Mexico Regional Arts Center. There is value in what you bring to our community. And I do believe that that value is higher than any donation that the city is making to the Northern Regional Arts Center. I feel like your entity is what is teaching our culture to our children. And I've been in there numerous times for different opportunities for our youth and witnessed things firsthand as to what exactly is going on there. There's value in the other entities that we do help and that help us. The animal shelter, there is no way that the city of Espanola could operate their own animal shelter for the amount of money that we pay the animal shelter and for the in-kind services that we give them. I understand the concern from the auditor's office, but I do believe that there is value in what you do. And I know in my heart of hearts that that value far exceeds the money that you're receiving from this community. So I'm hopeful that the situation gets rectified as soon as possible. I don't think it's fair to your entity to be left not knowing exactly where you stand in the community. I want you to know that there is value in what you bring, and I recognize that value. And you're just amazing beyond the Regional Arts Center. I mean, if we have anything community, there you are. You're one of the first people to get there and one of the last to be mopping it up when we're all done. And that is just amazing, especially being that you were not born and raised here in Espanola, but you are a true Espanolan and you just have the heart of our community. And I admire every single thing you do. And I don't want you to walk away from here feeling a little discouraged. I feel like this council is committed to making sure that we do everything that we can do in our power, legitimately, of course, that would sustain what you bring to our community. I want you to know that.
Councilor Justin Salsa Torres.
Thank you. So would tabling this to our next meeting be sufficient time, or do we have any sort of?
I don't know, Mr. Lujan, Ms. Baxter, I mean, Mr. Rennick, we need to get clarification from the state auditor's office. And this is being closely watched, and it's of no offense to you, Gabriela, but we are under the microscope with this situation, and we need to figure out, there's some situations where they're asking for deliverables and we I understand the value you provide to our community, but we have to be able to have it documented and provide that to the state auditor's office, and they ultimately have to be okay with it. And so it is concerning, Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez was at that exit audit interview with the state auditor's office as well, Mr. Rennick, Sally, where we became apprised of the whole in-depth. This has actually been ongoing since May, and we came to the information of us now in July.
Just to be clear, I guess I keep hearing you guys say you're donating money to us. So when we do receive that, you're actually giving us our money back. So we give you an invoice and then we get our money back that we spent the previous month. So you're not actually donating to us. You know, we're providing a service, an in-kind donation that we provide of goods and service to the community. And then the city reimburses us with our invoices that we give the city. So that's what we provide to the city for them to give us back. And we have in a monthly, so it would be for the previous month. So if I turn in this invoice, it would be for the month before, what we spent the month before.
And there's no
Right.
disagreement about the services you provide for the community. The question is, has there been the proper bookkeeping going back since 2011, I think is when you guys first,
We've had several bookkeepers. We've
no,
had,
no, the bookkeeping on our end.
oh, I don't know about that. I
When you
mean,
first came to the, first came to the plaza. This is a long time thing and it's going back. And so, the council will need to get an update at that point from the state auditor's office of where we're at.
Mayor, when I looked at the scope of work here, I see, and I don't know all the services that are there. I see some that are service to the city, some that I don't know what they are. I think anti-donation in some respect would be the $1 a year lease. That would be a donation. Now, how that's wrapped into the services that are provided is something that I think needs to be looked at, get some detail on that.
it's $1 per dollar. So we provide the $1 per dollar. So we match that.
I'm not understanding.
You know, whatever we spend, we get that back. So I think for the lease. Okay.
Well, it's just something to take up with Mr.
For
Lujan
the
and
lease, like
Jeremy and
what we pay for our,
out what the details are.
Counselor Manny Martinez.
Thank you. I just want to echo, of course, Mayor Pro Tem, the services that NIMRAC provides this community is a whole lot more than what the city is providing financially. I can tell you that. I've seen hands-on what Gabriela does and how long she stays at the Convento through the years. And it's just amazing what this lady's willing to do for this community and her love for this community. It would be very sad to see something like this go away because of this audit. My thought is, okay, we're waiting. So what does that mean for NIMRAC? Does that mean they close their doors until this is taken care of, or do they continue to incur the costs yet providing a service for the city? Because this is a service for our community members, from the smallest of us to the eldest of us. Anybody that has gone to any of these functions or classes that NIMRAC provides, you're going to find children from all ages to the elderly from all ages that take advantage of these services. So it would be very sad to see that, not to mention what she does in the gallery to promote an economic for this community. I've seen where she's bringing busloads of tours from Santa Fe and other areas, and that come to Espanola because of what she's done, not because they know where to go, but because she's out there reaching out to bring these people. And on the economic side, these are the same people that end up spending money in local shops or in restaurants while they're here. So I just want to state that I understand what you're saying, about the audit and from the auditor's office. But I cannot stress enough how we cannot lose this type of service that NIMRAC provides. Because when we start to lose that, it just reminds me how the schools have put music and art and different categories other than there's certain pet peeves that they have. They put that aside. So now we no longer have music in the schools. We no longer have art, dance in the schools because they consider it not important. And it's because of organizations like this that these children that do have that interest are able to go somewhere, not to mention again the elderly. And they not only do they do these programs separate, but then in some cases it's the older generation that's helping the younger generation, as Mayor Pro Tem said, know our culture and know the arts of our culture and everything that goes with it. So I just this is very sad for me to hear this right now that's going on. Thank you.
Counselor Annette Rodriguez.
So first and foremost, I want to apologize because we discussed this in our community services meeting last Monday, and I wasn't aware of the audit finding. Had I known or had been informed, I definitely would have shared that with you. So please accept my apology. Secondly, I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. And Gabriela, you've touched so many lives. You've worked closely with the adults with disabilities. They admire you and love you. You're wonderful with them. And I think we can all agree that we're behind you, and this is something that we want to see continue. An audit finding is an audit finding, and we'll just have to work with that and see how we can correct that finding. But we're all behind you.
I want to clarify for the record, this is not an audit finding from us. We were reported to the state auditor's office for investigation. No, it wasn't an audit finding from our audit. Someone reported us to the state auditor's office. Yeah. And Gabriela, just as a, this is nothing intentionally towards you. It actually has opened the door where we have to now investigate all of our leases and such. And Sally's been working on compiling that, and she's been really working hard on that and trying to see, and it's turned into a lot bigger issue than we thought, not just with NIMRAC. So I want to make that very clear. We're thankful for what you do in the community. Counselor.
So then a question, if it's a pleasure of this governing body to table to our next city council meeting, so it sorts of lights a fire under us to get some sort of answers within the next, couple of weeks, because we obviously everybody's got the same passion for this. But I don't want it to fall off, in forgotten land. So I'll table to our next city council meeting.
So do we think we can get an answer by then?
Can I address a couple of the questions that have come up in discussion?
Well, let's clarify that we can even get it in 2 weeks, because I mean,
He has the right to table it to the next meeting, whether or not it's ready at that
And
time.
then therefore we can move it again if need be, but
We have to move it
Just to
again,
keep
he
it
can
open.
move it.
right, just so it stays alive.
So point of
there's a
clarification.
motion on the floor by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, second by Counselor Aaron Salazar.
Mayor Pro Tem seconded.
Mayor Pro Tem seconded the motion. I'm sorry, you raised your hand now. Can you call a roll?
In the second,
Oh, under discussion, Jeremy, you had something?
Yes, a few of the questions that came up from the counselors. The first one is the payment. So the current contract that we're on, it did expire in July, but it does state that payments will continue and the contract will continue month to month until a new one is initiated. And so we will continue to pay the previous amount at the council's will until a new contract is able to be looked at and re-signed. And then the other question was about the report. So Gabriela does submit a monthly report to the Community Services Department committee meetings each month. So that does go before the counselors. It's on record. And so she does state what they are doing as far as the deliverables. So it's not just they're doing whatever they want without any kind of accountability from the city.
state something else, Mayor? So the city currently does not have an employee at the convento. We don't really have somebody there. So when people come in, it's actually a stamp, official stamp place where people can come in. It's notarized as a historic area and something of interest in the community where people that are looking for things to see will automatically go to the convento. There's a lot of history to be taught in that building. The real true history of the city of Española is in those paintings. And it's almost amazing what you can learn if somebody can guide you through it. And Gabriela has been that guide to so many people, like Councilor Martinez talked about. There's busloads of people that stop there. She gives them the whole Española history, the whole thing, and it doesn't cost the city anything. There's nobody in this community that is promoting the city more than Ms. Silva.
Ditto, Counselor.
Any other comments from the council? Ms. Garcia, there's a motion and a second. Ms. Garcia, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Councilors Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Aaron J. Salazar,
In favor.
Nanette D. Rodriguez,
For the motion.
motion carries.
Thank you. The time is 9:30. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.